What's up, guys? Got a change of scenery behind me here. I'm recording now in England. I'm going to be here for about 2 weeks. There'll be some recordings mixing in that I pre-recorded while I was still at home because I'm going to take an actual vacation here coming up, heading over to Poland. But here with my wife and enjoying some peace and quiet. And we got to get a video cranked out here. So I got one here talking about Are Crazy Women Destroying the West? Kind of an interesting video. Let's get into it.
Are crazy women destroying the West? We are forever reading headlines about the mental health crisis in the West. We're told that we're becoming more and more unhappy and more crazy. In many Western countries, mental illness is now the leading cause of disability and responsible for 30 to 40% of chronic sick leave, costing us around 4 to 5% in GDP. But who are all these sad and mad people? Well, mostly they're women. Women are 3 times more likely to experience mental health problems than men, and they are twice as likely to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression than men. And this situation isn't improving, it's getting worse. Rates of self-harm among females have tripled.
It's not surprising that we're drowning in a mental health crisis, especially here in the Western cultures. And who is taking center stage in this? It's women. And apparently the Sad and Mad Club is now a majority female affair, with mental illness causing up to 40% of chronic sick leave. And it's no shock that we're looking at a multi-trillion-dollar GDP drain because of this. But don't dare mention that, because slap a hashtag self-care sticker on it and we'll call it progress. Women are 3 times more likely than men to have mental health issues. But in society that spoon feeds follow your feelings, is this really surprising that many are in a tailspin? It's only going to get worse. Is it society's fault or personal accountability that's gone AWOL? It's actually a little of both, with the cherry on top.
In the last 30 years, and rates of suicidality have doubled. But hang on, I thought we had so much more mental health awareness now. The well-being industry is booming. This is the era of emotions and self-care. Aren't we all opening up about how we feel, going to therapy and working on ourselves? Well, yes, but that may be part of the problem. 70 to 80% of psychologists and therapists are also women. Given that 1 in 3 women will take antidepressants in their lifetime, how many of these female therapists are also depressed and anxious?
That is a good point that she's bringing up here. That would be an interesting number to see.
So we likely have many depressed women seeking treatment from depressed women therapists, and surprisingly, women's mental health is getting worse. So why are women so mentally unwell in the first place? Well, as Jordan Peterson and others rightly point out, it's because women are temperamentally higher in trait neuroticism than men. They're more prone to negative thinking and they're more emotional. Okay, I know I'm stating the obvious. But why else? Why are they becoming more mentally unwell? And what's been happening in the Western world in, say, the last 50 years or so? Well, for a start,
in the last 50 years or so, one of the big key factors has been the internet and social media. That has played a huge role in mental health issues. Think about it. Women seeking validation and attention on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever social media app they're using to garner their attention from, and then fighting for that validation as well. That's been one of the big key factors, at least in today's day and age. So let's talk about the self-harm and mental health awareness, or rather an awareness or maybe a lack of awareness because of self-care hype. Female self-harm rates have tripled and self-deletion rates have doubled. 70 to 80% of therapists are women, yet women are still losing it. Look, if you're taking advice from someone who's as mentally stable as a house of cards in a hurricane, then maybe the help isn't helping. Mix in high neuroticism and the perfect recipe for a cocktail of anxiety and depression, and boom, mental health crisis. And can we take a moment to appreciate the irony? All of this empowerment and emotional liberation, and yet mental stability keeps dropping like a rock. Guess all that therapy talk was just, that's it, talk. If you also think about it, if you're seeking help from somebody giving you advice and they're not well, it's not going to work out. It's like going up to an alcoholic and ask him, how do you not be an alcoholic, or how do you beat alcoholism?
The amount of women in full-time work has increased by over 50%. Similarly, the amount of women who are unmarried and single over the age of 30 has increased from 18% to a whopping 54% in the last 30 years. And it is estimated that almost half of all women aged between 25 and 44 will be single by 2030. So, women are working more and they're marrying and having a family less. And they're becoming more depressed. This isn't only bad for women, it's bad for everyone. This is because all the gains made by extra productivity in the economy, of things becoming quicker, more efficient and cheaper, have been swallowed up by women entering the workplace. Now that there's two salaries, the man and the woman's, that can go towards the mortgage, all that has done is push asset prices up, which means that all the extra money earned goes on rent and mortgages, and there's no lifestyle improvement. All there is just greater difficulty in raising a family and maintaining a work-life balance.
Yeah, and she's right. I mean, if you think about it, I don't have my notes on me. A lot of it's still sitting on my desk at home on a video I'm working on, and I forgot to grab it before I ran out the door 2 days ago. I don't remember when I left now, but if you think about it, back when it was a single income family, the man would go work, the wife would stay home, take care of the kids and everything else. Bills would be paid, house would be paid, car. You lived a pretty decent life. It wasn't like that you were struggling day to day, although there was that as well. I mean, I do believe there's always going to be struggles day to day. But once the women were I would say, pushed into the workforce, that may not be the right word for it, but once women entered into the workforce, you have to kind of follow the money. You get more people into the workforce, it's more tax money that goes to the government. It's more money that goes to the big corporations so they can obviously make more product, but usually it's so they can raise the price of the product because there's more money that's floating out there. I mean, think about it now in today's day and age. Home prices are through the roof. A home could still run you $400,000 or $500,000. I mean, I know there's homes out there that are in the 300s, but I mean, think about it. You got homes that are averaging, let's just say, 500,000 easy. You have to have a household that's going to be pulling in $100,000 just to live. Cost of food is up, cost of electricity is up, gas prices are up, cars are expensive. But it just gives you the idea. If you start looking at where the money is going, the government's obviously capitalizing on because tax. You got two people that are working, but who's suffering? The kids are suffering at home because now you're having TV watching them, Xbox, PlayStation watching them, daycare, a complete stranger watching your kids. But it just kind of gives you an idea. Start following the money and it'll make a lot more sense as to why more and more women are entering the workplace. Was it feminism that started driving that at that point? Probably. I know in the late 70s, you had a lot more of the movement of woman empowerment. I could do anything a man could do, jobs, stuff like that. And it's just progressively ramped up over the last probably 10 years. But anyways, I mean, we look at it, yeah, there's a 50% increase in women's full-time work. I mean, yay, right? Congratulations, empowerment. But if you think about it, it's unmarried, single women over 30, and now over half the population not any happier. In fact, they're more depressed, and women entered into the workforce in masses. Housing prices, as I was mentioning, has gone up. Family stress has gone up because you got two incomes that are coming in, and you're still scraping by. You're living paycheck to paycheck. The result of all of this is you have more income inequality, family dissolution, women hitting the wall harder than a 90s punk rock band. I mean, it's just a mess. You got inflation through the roof, everything's up, and people are struggling to survive.
Alongside this, more and more women entering the workplace has brought about freedom-destroying equal pay laws. For example, the UK's equal pay laws, covered by the Equality Act, mean that men and women receive equal pay for equal work. That is, work that is similar, equivalent, or of equal value. But who decides what work is of equal value? Well, it seems that it's all down to how the judge interprets the law. So, for example, we have the shocking story of Birmingham City Council, where female dinner ladies argued that they should have been paid the same salary as dustbin men who had been earning more. The judge agreed with them, and the council had to pay out around $700 million, leaving the council bankrupt. Or, more recently, there's been the case of retail giant Next. After a 6-year legal battle in which female shop workers argued that it was not fair that they weren't being paid as much as warehouse workers, the high street brand was ordered to pay out $30 million to equalise the pay.
Next we got equal pay laws, which is a doozy. Judges have the power to decide if jobs like dinner ladies versus dustbin men deserve equal pay. And apparently just because they feel similar, we can just say they are similar. That's just how I interpret it to what the judge had said. Now they're bankrupting city councils for their feel-good prize of pay equality, leaving businesses and taxpayers in the lurch. So meanwhile, let's not kid ourselves. The wage gap, mostly different industries, skills, and roles, but equal, right? Oh, and then the other case of emotions versus economics. Economics doesn't care about your feelings.
In their defence, Next argued that the pay for the two roles was based on market prices and to ensure the viability of the business. So we now have a situation where judges are telling employers how much they should pay their workers instead of the market deciding. And this is all happening in an increasingly feminised legal system that focuses on emotions, subjective interpretations, hate speech, hate laws, non-crime hate incidents, and woke activism. And that leads us to our final manifestation of toxic, crazy femininity. Woke. Since the mid-2000s, young women have becoming more and more left-wing. The growing ideological gap between men, who are more likely to lean conservative, and women, who are more likely to lean left, isn't really being caused by men becoming right-wing. It's actually because young women are increasingly adopting radical far-left positions. Perhaps
Enter the feminized legal system where judges, let's be real, often look through a left-leaning lens, a feel-good lens, and now policing wages. And it's not just that. You look at the divorce cases, it is favoring women, child support, spousal support, assets division. It's all leaning towards the woman, where the man is 95% of the time walking away with little to nothing in his pocket after a divorce. Now you got judges here that are doing the same thing. Again, looking left-leaning, looking through this feel-good lens, and telling companies that your wages are not suit to what you should be paying. So like they were talking about here with companies like Next, argue they pay based on a market demand. And there's nothing wrong with that. You might be in an area that doesn't have a high cost of living, so the wages do not need to be that high. But perhaps they're maybe comparing it to some big and metropolitan city where cost of living is high, wages are higher, and saying you need to match those wages. And now what you're doing is you're bankrupting these companies, and they have to close their doors and lay all these people off because they're being told you need to pay more money because of ABC, XYZ. And why? Because it feels fair. It's bullshit is what it is. But with our woke court system, that's not going to fly anymore with market-based wages. While we're at it, let's add in the subjective hate laws and woke agendas, because what could go wrong? When the legal system looks more like a therapy session than court, we're losing touch with reality faster than a Hollywood marriage. What's next? Participation trophies for job titles? Actually, I think we're kind of already there as is, where we're making up job titles for a regular admin, and we're giving them some big elaborate name with a huge salary behind it, and you're just looking at like, what the hell? Do you really need to be getting paid like $150,000 a year to answer somebody's phone calls and push some papers around? Just saying.
Perhaps, given that more of them are entering full-time work, which they struggle with because of their mental health, woke ideas such as harm reduction, focusing on emotions, caring for victim groups, and a critique of meritocratic capitalism appeals to them. If men can work long hours and work their way up the hierarchy quicker than women can, it's easier to call this patriarchy rather than accepting that men and women are just different and that women cannot compete with men. Diversity, equity and inclusion, safe spaces, therapeutic spaces, bringing your whole self to work, the tyranny of HR, harm reduction, psychological safety, emotionality, conformity and aversion to conflict and disagreement, perverse misplaced compassion, perverse misplaced empathy. This is the new academic environment. This is the new workplace. This is the new economy. This is the new legal system. This is the West, and it is being destroyed by toxic femininity and mentally unstable women.
You know, she's not wrong. You know, finally we have our woke culture with women, the new vanguards of left-wing liberation, rally behind ideas like safe spaces, therapeutic work zones, and emotional safety, because clearly capitalism was too mean and logic was the way to patriarchy. You know, they're struggling with full-time work and they blame it on the system instead of acknowledging that men and women aren't wired the same. We're not wired the same mentally. We're not wired the same physically. We're talking about a society prioritizing feelings over facts, which is great for group therapy, but terrible for actual productivity. The West is getting buried in a sea of emotionality, and all while diversity and inclusion programs chew away at basic sanity. You know, we've gotten to the point we've overcorrected, we swapped reality for ideology, and now we're left with the wreckage, rising mental health crisis, sky-high costs of living, and family units in tather. You know, what about a reality check? Scrap laws that substitute feelings for facts, restore the family by incentivizing, not penalizing traditional households, encourage men and women to respect their differences rather than obliterate them in some unachievable quest for sameness. I mean, let's reel back on the woke agendas and bring back accountability. No therapy sessions required for this. Reality isn't toxic, it's just what it is, and the quicker we accept it, you know, the better shot we have at a society that isn't one giant therapy meme waiting to collapse. Well, guys, that's the end of the video here. I'm still a little on the foggy side from all the travels. I gotta get adapted over to the time change, probably another day. But anyways, guys, if you like what you've seen, hit that like button, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Drop me a comment down below on what you think. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.